All right, let's dive into something that is incredibly difficult to talk about, let alone prove: coordinated harassment. How do you even begin to build a case against something that feels, well, invisible? We're going to walk through exactly how to do that piece by piece, starting with what it actually feels like to be on the receiving end.
And you've got to start here, right? This quote just hits home. It's about that feeling, that static in the background that makes you question everything. And that's the whole point of this kind of harassment. It's designed to make you feel like you're losing your mind. It's an attack on your reality itself.
So, here's our game plan for dragging this out into the light. First, we'll define the threat. Then we'll get into the nitty-gritty of building an evidence toolkit. After that, we'll see how to take that evidence and actually do something with it, get into the tactics they use, and finally, lay out your digital defense plan.
Okay, section 1. Before you can fight something, you have to know exactly what you're looking at. So let's start by defining the challenge. The term you hear thrown around a lot is gang stalking. And what the sources tell us is that this describes a very specific feeling of being targeted by a whole network of people. It's not just one person. It involves intense surveillance, psychological games, and this constant feeling of being watched by an organized group.
And this right here is the absolute core of the problem for everyone involved. On one hand, you have actual, verifiable harassment campaigns. But on the other, you have what clinical studies sometimes identify as persecutory delusions. The real challenge? Being able to tell the two apart. And that's exactly why you need cold, hard, objective proof. It's not just a good idea. It is the only way forward.
Okay, so that brings us to the next big question. How do you build that fortress of proof? Well, it all comes down to documentation. You have to start thinking like a forensic investigator because your evidence log, that's your weapon.
And there's a 3-step playbook for this. First, you hunt for the digital breadcrumbs, the hard data from your devices and router logs. Then, you back that up with a ridiculously detailed log of everything that happens, timestamped. And this is super important. You have to treat every piece of evidence like it's already heading to court, which means following what's called a chain of custody. Now, check this out, because not all evidence is created equal. Look at what carries the most weight. What gets those 3 stars? Digital proof from a forensic analysis. Boom. Notarized statements from witnesses. Huge. And here's the kicker. The pattern. We're talking at least 6 months of logs with multiple incidents a month. See, a one-off weird thing? Easy to dismiss. A documented pattern? Now you've got their attention.
All right, so you've got your logs, you've got your data. Now what? Let's talk about turning that pile of evidence into something that can actually be used in a legal case.
Yeah, you can't just dump a shoebox full of notes on a detective's desk and expect them to connect the dots. The smart move is to build what's called a prosecution package. Think of it like a professional report. You write a clear summary up front, organize all your evidence by date, include any technical forensic reports, and have a clean list of witnesses with their contact info. You're basically making it impossible for them to ignore.
And it's just as important to know who you're talking to. You have to play this smart. For every single incident, file a report with your local police. That creates the official paper trail. But for anything digital, and so much of this is, you report it to the FBI's Internet Crime Complaint Center, or IC3. Why? Because they're the ones tracking these things across the country. And if it's crossing state lines, you loop in your state attorney general. It's a multi-front strategy.
Okay, so to gather the right evidence, you have to think like they do. Let's pull back the curtain and look at the actual tactics being used, the stalker's playbook. Now, this might surprise you. You might be thinking this is all high-tech, military-grade spy gear, right? Nope. Look at this. A whopping 80% of this surveillance relies on regular consumer electronics you can buy online. We're talking about things that look like USB chargers or smoke detectors, but have hidden cameras and mics inside.
One of the biggest tools in their arsenal is something called stalkerware. It's nasty stuff. These are hidden apps someone can sneak onto your phone, and suddenly, they own it. They can turn on your mic, your camera, see everything you type, and track you everywhere you go, all in real time, without you ever knowing.
And it's not just your phone they're after. It's the networks around you. They use little devices, sometimes called Wi-Fi pineapples, to create fake public Wi-Fi. You connect, thinking it's the coffee shop's free internet, and bam, they're intercepting your data. More advanced gear can even pretend to be a cell tower, catching your calls and texts right out of the air.
But you've got to remember, the tech is just a tool. The real goal is almost always psychological. It's about gaslighting. It's about using technology to mess with your head, playing recorded voices from a hidden speaker, or making your smart lights flicker on and off. It's all designed to make you feel unsafe and to make you question your own sanity.
So, knowing all that, what can you actually do right now? How do you start taking back control? Let's get into a concrete defense plan. Okay, here are your immediate action items. And listen closely, because the order here is everything. Step 1, preserve before you reset. Get a forensic image made of your devices. That's a perfect digital copy for evidence. Then, and only then, do you do a full factory reset. After that, you lock down your physical space. Encrypted security cameras, suites for hidden bugs, and finally, get a pro. Don't try to do this alone.
And this quote from a DOJ prosecutor just nails it. It's not about finding one single gotcha moment. That's not how these cases are won. It's about the pattern. You're building a mountain of evidence, one documented incident at a time. A single text means nothing, but 500 incidents, all showing coordinated timing, that's what gets you an indictment. So we come back to that first question, right? How do we prove the whispers are real? The answer isn't easy, but it is clear. It all comes down to methodical, forensic-grade documentation. Because in the end, a paper trail built on objective, verifiable evidence is the most powerful weapon there is against those who hide in the static.